There are a number of minority sporting codes, and amongst those is ring tennis. As a cricket, soccer and rugby-loving nation, many South Africans know little about this sporting code, if at all. Last year, South Africa even hosted the ring tennis World Cup that was played in Vanderbalepark in the Vaal. But now to talk to us about what is ring tennis and how it's played, we are joined in the studio by ring tennis South Africa president, that's Hein van der Lith, and one of the players, Avhashoni Nzhinga. Good morning and welcome to AM News.
Good morning.
Mr. President, let's start with you. How is the level of interest from fellow South Africans in ring tennis?
Well, like most of our minority sports, we've got a lack of interest or let's say a lesser interest than we would prefer. It's growing, especially since we are now a world championship games. And since we became the world champions in 2010, the interest grew, but not as much as we would like. And yes, opportunities will come.
What are the challenges? Why is the sport not growing at the rate you'd like it to grow?
Well, first of all, like you said in your introduction, you know, soccer, rugby, cricket, netball nowadays are also coming somewhere in the limelight. So it's exposure. And only the major sporting codes bring in funds for the advertisers. So, yes, it boils down to money at the end of the day, unfortunately.
Now, let's also, Avhashoni, bring you into this conversation. Tell us, how did you ended up playing this sport?
Thank you very much, Marumo. With the ring tennis sports, we used to call it tenequate by then. It was in the 90s. During my secondary level, where I've been introduced by my teacher, Mr. Mugwena, by then. He also got it from correctional service guys. It's now 15 side base in Venda.
So, but then if it was introduced to you at the high school level, do you think the same thing still happens now where there are those teachers with interest in such minority sporting code? Because, I mean, you were introduced to this and you went all the way to even play at the national level.
Yes, I went all until today, but as you are asking that, many people way back, they were playing it. It just come along the way, it faded away. We all forgot about it because no one is talking about it. Radio, TV. I
know how much you really had to make this interview work, and I'm glad that we're finally having this conversation. Hein, let's bring you back into the conversation here. Avhashoni is talking about the sport being introduced to her at the high school level, and she still played sport until she played at the national level. Tell us about the initiatives that you have to promote the sport and even take it to even the black schools.
Through our association with SASCOC, we used to, in the past, didn't have such a good association with SASCOC. For the past 10, 12 years now, we are in good standing with SASCOC, so we're in good standing on macro levels. And they are assisting us. The schools, unfortunately, I can't, you know, tell exactly what's going on on school level, but unfortunately, schools is always strained with coaching. So yes, unless you've got a specific teacher at a school that does ring tennis and that's interested into promoting ring tennis at that specific school, you do not get a foot in there. Government, as everybody knows, concentrate on 7, 8, 9 big sporting codes. And that's a code that's being pushed through all the levels where government is involved in. So we are trying now to get minority sports active in other structures. And fortunately, we are busy with this local sports councils, the local sports confederations. And those are the systems we are using now in all our regions to push our sports.
Avhashoni, as a player, if you were just to tell us how competitive is the sports locally? Do you play weekly? Do you play monthly? How does it work? Just give us the picture.
Okay, thank you. This is how we do it. We've got a yearly program. We just finished our program during Easter holiday. We're going to start again in August until next year, April. So every month, as per the program, There are teams that we know we are going to play with certain provinces. Like we've got Mpumalanga, Sidibeng, Gauteng North, and also Gauteng Central. So we do compete all the time.
Internationally, how are we doing as ring tennis South Africa?
Okay, internationally, I can say we have played World Cup last year, where we met people from Germany, India, Belarus. We did compete very well, and we end up getting position 2. We draw with India, and then also with Germany. They only took position 1 because they've won against India. So we were very competitive.
So now from a player's point of view, do you think enough marketing is being done to promote sports? Is it an expensive sport to play? Maybe that's why people are not maybe even going out there to try and explore.
Not at all. It's not expensive. This is a sport of 2 people.
I see you have your rings there. Yeah. Take me through that.
It's not even expensive. If we can really go back to schools and they start introducing it once again, it's still there. We are just quiet because it's not all over TV and radio. I believe it's still happening. So
the media is also playing a role in not promoting this sporting code, you'd say?
I can say that because by not watching it, we feel like it's not happening. This is a really cheap sport because it's a play of 2 people. It's a family sport in a way. If you go to your kid, you can throw around the ring. And it's a team of only 4 people.
Take me through this. I see this is your ring, Shoni's Absolute ring. Vision. So this is what you'd use on an ordinary day playing out there?
Yes.
And the other 2?
This one, as he mentioned, Mr. Hein, it's for Ringo, and this is the same thing.
What's the difference between Ringo, Ringo and ring tennis?
Well, if you ask any ring tennis or tennis court player, the difference between Ringo and ring tennis would be as the same as between badminton and tennis. It's the same kind of equipment, but totally different games. Ringo was introduced years and years back in Europe. So what happened in 2010, I was elected as president of the World Tennis Court Federation. And at that same meeting, Ringo World Federation applied to become part of the World Tennis Court or Ring Tennis Federation. And they've introduced the sport to us there. So there we transformed into the World Ring Sport Federation, which means that we've got 2 different facets now, tennis court as well as Ringo. The Ringo ring is smaller, it's totally flexible. Ring tennis, it's a stiff ring. You're not supposed to bend your ring tennis rings, but your Ringo, you're supposed to do that. Ringo was mostly played in the East Bloc countries. Belarus is currently the leader in Ringo worldwide. And it was a sport developed by doctors. Specifically to have low impact but high heart rate.
Look, let's also now go back to the issue that seems to be at the heart of this conversation when it comes to putting the sports out there to people, which is the issue of funding. How are you being funded, and do you think the government is playing enough role in helping you to promote sports, this sporting code?
Yeah, it's a two-way sword there. Yes, for sure, we are very happy we got funding from the Lotto side now. We are funded through Lotto, which assists majorly. But yes, government side, local government, I think much more can be done. And I'd like to talk not only on behalf of tennis courts. I think on provincial levels, on local government levels, much more should be done for all minority sports. I honestly believe that a game like tennis courts or ring tennis should be differently be approached by local governments, because all our regions suffers with facilities. If they've got the facility from local governments, they suffer to pay the necessary cost of the facility, whereas your bigger sporting codes are sponsored. So yes, like I say, it's boiling back to money. We are introducing methods now. For sure, we're registering as a NPO and a Section 21 to start getting companies and big companies involved. So as soon as companies get involved in the minority sports through funding,
But don't you also think that those who are responsible for these minority sporting codes should also be out there in trying to lure advertisement or companies to try and sponsor them? Because surely this is a good sporting code. It should have as much funding as possible. Shoni did say that it's a sporting code where even the family can go out and enjoy this. Do you guys put yourself out there?
No, not enough. And that's the honest truth. I think, you know, there's a saying, if you point a finger, 3 or 4 fingers are pointing back. So in our case, like in most minority sports, we should be more passionate. We've adopted a kind of, let's complain, but let's not be proactive. So I think this will be an eye-opener specifically because we've spoken about it directly now. And we need people to be more active into this. Unfortunately, we are also, as a sports nation, only supporting winners. We don't want to support up-and-coming games. Up-and-coming sporting codes is a no-no for everybody. So because we're so competitive, it's also killing us as minority sports.
Hein and Shoni, thanks a lot for coming through this morning and joining us. That was the president of Ring Tennis South Africa, Hein Vanderbalepark, and one of the players, Avhashoni Nzhinga. That's your sports for now.